Good morning, Charlie. Good morning, Peregrine. What are we doing today, then? Well, I'm sitting here staring at this butter press. What's a butter press, Charlie? The thing I'm staring at, what presses butter. Does it have any other functions? Well, you can't row to the Bahamas on it, if that's what you're asking. I wasn't asking that, no. Well, what kind of other functions would you expect? Well, I don't know. Could it press other things? Like, pudding. Who ever heard of a pudding press? Well, until just now, I'd never heard of a butter press. Well, there, Peregrine, you do actually have a point. Well, it must be the cut of these trousers. We'll have none of that filth here, Peregrine. Not when I'm slowly and oh so gorgeously pressing butter. My mind, it shall remain clean. Plus, co-host Jim hates it when these pre-show sketches have knob gags in them. Wait, was that a meta joke, Charlie? Oh dear, I think it might have been. Right, you know what to do. I've been a very bad man. Get in the ostrich closet and don't come out again until it's all sore. Between you and me, Peregrine, I don't think he thought this sketch through before he started writing it. It really is going nowhere and it's just plain absurd. Right, that's it. Oh dear, the butter's been too pressed. It's ruined now. And that was part 14 of Silly Silly Name, hosted by ludicrous rubbish and crappy old McCrapshorts. And now on Radio Flange Goblet, say it with me, children. The after movie diner. He's got a beard.
After movie diner, I'm surprised you don't know. There's no blaze fighter. Come on now, let's go. Oh, that after movie diner, it's one hell of a show. I just killed that rattlesnake with skillet pants.
So we just finished recording our...
Are we recording now?
Yeah, we are.
That's seamless.
It's seamless. We just finished. If anyone's watched it, the behind the scenes Walking to the Diner video. Walking to the diner.
Thanks
Thank you.
Start.
And we talked all about the wonderful
You. We talked all about
stuff.
you.
We talked all about
There's
the
a
wonderful
caricature of
stuff.
you, a song about you.
Song about us. You're mentioned in it.
Am I?
Yes.
Oh, I like it more now.
So's John, though.
Oh.
And Mark and
Yeah,
Matt.
but he's everywhere.
True.
You can't open...
Oh, and he mentioned Ston Dola and George Stover in it, which is very cool.
All right, well, I guess I'm in esteemed company.
You are an esteemed company.
Except for you, you're not esteemed.
I'm not esteemed.
You're more just steamed.
More just
You're
steamed.
steamed company.
I would say I'm lightly baked.
No, I'd say steamed. Kind of wet, sweaty and floppy.
Wet, sweaty and
Slightly underdone.
And with that, hello and welcome to this week's episode of the After Movie Diner. And with me again is my most regular of co-hosts,
I'm sorry.
Jim.
I'm sorry there aren't more people that live in New York
Jim
that will
Wallace,
go to the movies with him.
who's wearing a tremendous, Tragically Hip-based T-shirt.
I am. I'm very happy with my Tragically Hip t-shirt.
Which is a Little Bones reference for anyone who knows the Tragically
The first
Hip.
song I ever heard.
Road Apples.
Yes.
No, you're meant to go, it was the first song I ever heard. And I went, no, that's the title of the album. It was been a whole like back and forth joke.
No, yeah.
Because Road Apples means horse shit.
If we're going to do that kind of banter, we have to rehearse.
I know what I want here, so it's all good.
You ready? You do?
Yeah, I have the same thing every time we come here because it's amazing. I have that scampi, the what are they?
Well, I'm gonna get something. Okay, well, I'm gonna get something else because I was toying with the idea of getting another chili, but I think I'm just gonna get because that chili was so good last week.
But we didn't have it here, dude.
No, I know. I'm just saying I could get chili in all the diners because I like chili.
Get all the
It'd be my way of testing the diners.
It would be your
What's
way.
their chili like?
Right.
under the circumstances. Maybe I'll get a Philly cheesesteak.
Good, thanks. How are you? Very good.
You want a coffee, sir? Anything to drink?
Do you want anything to drink, Chief?
Oh, can I get a chamomile tea? That'll be it for me.
I'm good with water. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I think it's the popcorn shrimp I have.
Do I get? I'm quite tempted by a Philly cheesesteak.
Why don't you do that then, Chief? I'm going to do the popcorn shrimp, and then I get the, what are the fries that I get again? Oh, God, really? They're sat like 3 tables away, and I can still hear them being all hipster.
I know she's wearing a Hilda. Who's the bird from Coronation Street?
They wouldn't know Coronation Street.
They might.
Well, I mean,
For all you know, like
there's another woman ironically wearing a trilby. It's enough to make you cake.
contour. Meet our neighbours.
But yeah, if you can hear some horses baying in the background, that's what it is. Oh, it's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh God, that's going to get annoying.
I had the Midnight Crave. That was really good.
Sounds like
I'm
something.
going to get the Philly cheesesteak because I don't. Should I get it in a hero, a wrap, or a panini?
Why didn't you say, while I'm just being grumpy
Yeah,
on
you're
that?
being really grumpy.
Basically, the
I
beginning
don't
of
have
the
to look at
podcast might as well be get off my lawn, hipster
They're
fuck monkeys.
just young and daft like
Fuck
we
monkeys.
were. Look, do you remember some of the outfits you used to wear? If you walked into a diner,
Yeah, but I wore them because I loved them.
they're not capable of love.
No.
Right. Okay. I think I'm going to go with the Philly cheesesteak in a hero.
I almost care.
I'm just thinking. I have
No,
to
I know.
think.
No, that's tremendous.
We better start talking about movies soon, or they're going to think they tuned into the Two Old Men Moan About Food podcast.
I think if we slowly geared this show towards being 2 old men moan about food, people might like it more.
That's true. Could they like it less? Would that be possible?
No, they couldn't like it less. Which is why. But anyway, we should order and then.
Hello, can I get the Philly cheesesteak, please? On a hero. Thank you.
Could I get the popcorn shrimp? But could I get that instead of have the tartar sauce, but instead of the what's the other sauce it comes with? Instead of the chipotle tartar, can I get the marinara sauce?
Yeah,
It comes with tartar and marinara, doesn't it?
right.
Yeah. And also, could I get the disco fries, please?
French fries with mozzarella
Yeah.
and gravy.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
Right, so, so that's the first thing we've got to say, is with the new website
Right.
and the new content and
Yes.
the new stuff and all the effort and the work and everything that I put into it, here's the deal.
Okay.
Everything's going to stay free.
I'm fine, aren't I?
No,
Oh, okay.
everything's going to stay free, everything's going to be exactly the same way.
Right.
Just people should share.
Okay.
That's the thing. I'm not going to ask this episode. I'm not going to run an advert for Patreon or an advert for buying the album or anything like that. Although you can do that if you wish. Because
I think it just happened just then.
yeah. But what I want for the coming weeks and coming months
Uh-huh.
is shares. So if you're on my Facebook or my Twitter and you see me post something, even if it's something you're not really interested in, even if you don't read the article, just hit the share button.
See, people don't do that. I wouldn't sell it like that because people are just going to ignore the message. What I would say is,
Oh, you do it. You do the pitch. Dude.
If-
I'm clearly not getting through. Yeah.
what I would say is,
Yeah.
you don't have to give money, you don't have to leave a comment, you don't have to rate it. He's tried that and that hasn't worked. So, if you hear an episode that you like, or you read an article that you like, or you see news about a poster that you're interested in, or news or whatever, if any of that, just share it. That's it. And you only have to do it once for the next month. That's it. Just one share.
Don't
No,
do
no.
it once.
No,
Like,
if they want to do it more, look. You ask them to do things all the time, right?
Right.
Do any of them ever do it?
Rarely.
Right.
But that's because last year a lot of them did do it, and I keep asking the same people, I think.
Okay, well, fair enough. Okay, but what I'm saying is,
People have been very generous. I'm not complaining. This is
I
not a
understand.
complaint. People
I
have been
understand.
very generous
I'm just
and very
saying, I think
wonderful
the
and
trouble
very
is,
supportive.
when you post, I block people on Twitter, right? if they post the same thing over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, I'll stop doing that.
I know. What I'm saying is, similarly with the message to, share or whatever, just give them like an easy thing to do. I think if they enjoyed it, what I'm saying is, they just have to do one simple thing in exchange, which is just share it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So anything, whether it's an interview or a video or the podcast episode, whatever, if you enjoy it, even just like a little bit, just share it.
Yeah, you don't even
That's
have to
it.
write a message.
Yeah.
Just share it.
Just share.
Just hit share and go bink.
We're just trying
bink
to increase the audience.
Yeah,
aren't we?
that's what it's all about.
Increase the reach.
We put months, or rather I did, and Kim, she was incredibly supportive and very helpful because she is in the biz.
Yeah. You pointed at me when you said very helpful in a way that suggests I'm not.
No,
That I'm like the opposite of helpful.
No, you come out.
If
every
you want to know
week-
what helpful is, look at this bloke and then imagine the opposite of that.
No, Kim was very. You're helpful in other ways. Sort
Which we'll talk about another time.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll talk about it
yeah,
another
talk
time.
about it.
Yeah,
Sort of
yeah,
like
yeah,
you're,
no
you're
problem.
helpful in the way that like.
You're helpful in ways to be discussed.
Yeah, to be discussed
To be
down the road
confirmed.
once I've made them up.
Yeah.
But no, Kim's been incredibly supportive. But we put in, and people don't know behind the scenes, but we put in months and months and months of work. I basically created 3 or 4 different websites and then stuck with Squarespace. But I went on Wix and Weebly and WordPress and the whole thing, all the W's. I did all the W's until I hit with the S's because I was enough with the W's already. So I did all that, and I'm very happy and very proud of the new website. And I did it for me. I did do it because I'm genuinely passionate and excited about it. And it did cost me money, it did cost me time, but that's all good. The best way to repay that is to share, and let's build the audience. That's the best way. Costs you nothing and takes very little time.
Yeah.
It's the best thing I can ask you to do. The only other thing, should you so wish, if you bookmark theaftermoviediner.com, but when you bookmark it on your internet viewer of choice, bookmark it as Amazon. When you go to buy stuff on Amazon, you can click through the little ad that's right on the right-hand side at the very top of the page, and it costs you no extra money.
I think
But hang on a second,
All right.
let me finish.
All right.
Costs you no extra money, but they kick me back 20 cents or whatever. So that is an extra step. The easiest thing, share. That's it. End of message.
I would stick with just the share message, and then what I would do is I would have like a monthly drive, right?
Right.
Because you've got loyal listeners, right?
Yeah,
So what-
surprisingly.
Right. So
Considering
your
you.
your problem is that you often
Bombard them with
agreed.
stuff.
Right. With and the thing is, so they forget about it. So what I would do is each month,
Yeah.
I would pick one thing.
Yeah, listeners,
So
write in and tell me if he's right.
if you pick, well, it doesn't matter whether they think I'm right. It's whether anyone like shares anything.
Right.
So this month,
Yeah.
right. It's what August, because we're nearly in August.
August.
So the month of August is share month.
Share month.
Right? So
As
in
I was
August,
walking in my purse.
no,
Oh, not that kind of share.
No.
A different kind of share.
yes,
Okay.
share
Okay.
over the month of August.
No,
Now I
I
can't
got
get
you.
share out of my head now. But if you do that, then and that's the message for every podcast, and that's what
Yeah.
you're asking people to do, then maybe they will. And then in October,
We can turn back
you can
time.
talk to the Amazon. No, we're not going to turn back time.
Okay.
That would be August. That would be share month. That's when we would turn back time.
That's okay. So let's turn back time to the
But
beginning.
I'm saying the Amazon thing, then you do that in
Yeah.
September.
Okay, on
And then you say
September.
to everyone, don't forget everyone, it's September, it's Amazon month.
Amazon
so
month.
anytime you buy anything on Amazon, click through the diner. One thing you could do is turn the diner into your, Amazon bookmark or whatever, and do it that way.
Right.
I'm just saying,
Share though.
you've just got to get people to do something once,
Yeah.
and then quite often they'll keep doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just
So-
get them in the habit of doing it.
So when you hear this noise,
Down in the jungle room when I was walking in Memphis. I was walking with my feet 10 feet off a beat.
remember, share.
Okay.
That's
good.
Okay.
So that could be for the month.
Yeah.
You go, don't forget everybody too, and then you do like your little shared
Yeah.
gag.
Yeah.
And then everyone will know what that means.
Yeah. And that want to punch me.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
Well, that's
So-
we're going to do it for a month.
Yeah, before we reveal, we're already 15 minutes into this episode and we still haven't revealed the film, but it's going to be fine. Before we reveal the film, I want to read the email we got from Voodoo Fuzz, because it was damn nice. So here,
How do we know Voodoo Fuzz?
from Twitter.
Okay.
And he writes, "Hi to the good and wonderful folks dining at the diner. A little late now, I know, but please find a small musical prezi, which I'm going to play a clip of now."
Well, Mr. John Cresswell, he's a man. He's a man with a beard and a man with a plan. Yeah, he is. With Jim and John and Madam Mark, tune in to Fletch Cobbler to start. Yes, and reviews, opinions, interviews, comedy and news, Don Doler and his films, and George Stover at the After Movie Diner.
My attempt at a little ditty in the style of everyone's favorite gravel-voiced crooner. I've been following the diner since it started. Your style and comedy was right up my alley. I've been having a pretty rough few years, but I can rely on you to always brighten my day, as well as some awesome recommendations. Don Dola springs to mind. I'm just getting ready to catch up on last night's show, so I'm full of smiles. The show he's referring to was the live video feed that I did on Periscope and Facebook Live, which are still available to watch, should you so wish. I answer people's questions, and my beard goes all over the place, basically.
And you get really unnerved by the amount of Ukrainian and Arab trolls that turn up out of nowhere.
Yeah. And also I've been blacklisted by the Freemasons.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, wasn't it? So anyway, he says, "Thanks again for all your very hard work in putting the show together. You are the best. Kiss you on both cheeks." It's a European thing. So yeah, he wrote that. He's also been commenting all over the diner this week. Keep that up, Voodoo Fuzz, and thanks ever so much for the song, the full anthem of which will be played at the end of this podcast. So now, without further ado,
And that was a lot of ado.
that was more than
That was Boku ado.
That was Boku ado. Ringo is suddenly writing that down as an idea of his next album. Peace and love, peace and love.
Peace and love.
Boku.
It's Boku ado.
Coming soon with the All-Star Band. So why don't you, Jim of the Wallace Clan, tell us all, first of all, what movie we watched, and I'm going to delight in you attempting to sum this up. This is actually me kind of putting Jim in a little bit of a corner to find out why.
Do we want to put a time limit on it?
Yeah, sure. You've got to do it in 30 seconds or less. Perfect popcorn strip. Oh, perfect disco.
Thank you very much.
And that looks like a big sandwich.
Thank
you very
you.
much. That's awesome. So yes, sir. Let's put a time limit on it. Let's say that by the time the clock turns 20 minutes, which gives you just under 3 minutes, you have to tell people the name of the movie and roughly what it's about. And don't get diverted into what you think it's like. Just tell the plot as if it's the first time anyone's ever heard of it.
I don't think this is a proper Philly cheesesteak.
No, it's just a beef sandwich
Just
with
a roast
cheese
beef
and
sandwich
onions.
with cheese and onions.
Yeah.
Fine. That's okay. Okay. So, the movie is called Get Me. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to tell the story of the movie as if I knew what was happening from the beginning, which I very much didn't.
Right.
In fact, I only knew what was happening after I got bored after about 20 minutes and started reading the booklet. And then I realised what was happening. Kind of.
You've got 2 minutes left.
Okay, right. Famous cinematic cowboy in the spaghetti western world. This is his final
Late 60s, early
late
70s.
60s, early 70s. This is his final movie. It's called The Stranger, and he's played by a bloke named Tony.
Tony Anthony,
Yeah.
an American actor doing
Anyway,
a lot of European.
So, he's dragged into a town past some crystal balls. The crystal balls clearly have some kind of time travelling effect, and he ends up back in time, where he gets hired by some people to take a princess,
By some gypsies.
to take a princess to Spain,
Right.
where her people, who are being oppressed by barbarians, await her arrival. And they give him a load of money, which doesn't make any sense because when he gets to Spain he complains he hasn't got any money, but they gave him the money at the beginning.
No, they gave him $10,000. He wanted them to up it to 50.
Oh, okay, fine, thank you. Okay, so
But 10,000 is all their people could muster.
right, so
Oh, there's an in-joke at the beginning about he doesn't know where Spain is, even though this is filmed in Spain.
right, we can get to I'm trying to explain the plot. I'm running out of time. Can you give me the
There you are.
in-joke?
You've got 35 seconds left.
Sure. So he goes to Spain, and he finds himself. It's kind of like medieval times. And he's in the middle of a war between the Moors and the Barbarians, and the princesses are going to use a treasure to help free her people, and then the Barbarians capture them, and the Barbarians force the cowboy to get the treasure for them, which he doesn't really, and then they're continually mean to him all the way through the movie, at which point he kind of snaps and takes his revenge.
Wow. Yeah,
Pretty good, right?
pretty good.
I mean, I missed out a load, but
Yeah,
that's
you
because
missed
it was
out a
all
load.
balmy.
It was all balmy. So yeah, basically, had we watched this as the fourth part,
It looks like the fourth or fifth movie, yeah.
because the Stranger Collection that's available from Warner Archive, which is not what we watched, has the first three movies in it, which is The Stranger,
Stranger Returns, probably.
Returns, and The Stranger in China or Japan or somewhere. Which was an East meets West movie that predates like all the other ones that Lee Van Cleef did, apparently. Anyway, this would be like if the man with no name, the Clint Eastwood character, imagine if by the third movie of the Dollars trilogy he went to China or went to Asia. And then by the fourth one, they were like, well, what do we do now? He's already, because you got to bear in mind, it's the 60s or the early 70s, so like, it's like, well, what do we do now? We've already been to Asia, well, you know, like, the next thing, we might as well send him to the moon, you know what I mean? Not having the budget to send him to the moon, but hanging around studios in Spain, realizing they've got a bunch of, you know, medieval things, a bunch of Viking things, a bunch of, you know, things. They go, well, how about we do, like, he kind of goes back in time, but doesn't, but kind of does, and he has to fight all these people, and there's some treasure, and there's some stuff, and blah, 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 blah. And
It's basically, his journey is about getting the money
Right.
for him. So that when he asks for his 50 grand, they say, oh, well, we need the treasure for that.
Yeah.
It's fine, where's the treasure? And they go, oh, well, in order to get the treasure, you have to go to this place. So he goes to that place, and while he's at that place, getting the treasure and going through the trials to get the treasure, then when it's over, he's got the treasure's not there, but then he's captured by the barbarians again. Each time he gets captured and beaten up by the barbarians, he gets out of it by going, well, look, let me go and get the treasure for you. So he's always, his story is always being after the treasure. And along the way, he gets beaten up, humiliated, tortured, beaten, whatever, by various people.
Yeah.
And at the end, he's had enough. He hasn't got his money.
Oh, the barbarians-
And he blows everybody to pieces.
the barbarians have befriended, I think, is he meant to be like a Spanish nobleman, like the Richard character, the
Well, he's
hunchback
supposed to
character?
be Richard III.
No, he's not. No, because he says that's not my real name. He says his real name's like Sombra or something.
Oh, yeah.
He
But
claims...
then he talks at the end about,
No, that's because he is a big Shakespeare fan. There was that whole scene in the library where he was saying, have you ever read Shakespeare? He wrote these great plays and blah, 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 blah. It's a little confusing because it's either played by an Englishman or they've dubbed an English voice on. And he's playing it with a hunchback and everything else, but he's not really Richard III. He's just a Shakespeare fan who has a hunchback who kind of uses it.
barbarians and Moors. That's dark ages.
You know, this is all over the place. They also have like muskets and cannons and swords, and it's like there's no continuity to any of it.
Okay, I've put it this way, right? The film is utterly balmy.
Right.
It's completely balmy. And after 10 minutes, no, 15 minutes, I wanted to turn it off. Because it had quite a cool beginning. Then there was a bit of a thing that did crop up the rest of the movie where the central cowboy attempts to be like winning and funny and cool and fails on all counts.
I don't know about that.
I do.
No,
Very much no.
I don't agree. I think he had something, and go with me here, of a Joe Pilato vibe from Day of the Dead. He did. He had a Colonel
Gary
Rose.
Sinise from CSI vibe. He looked like Gary Sinise's less talented, slightly touched cousin, who's been tapped for like a cowboy movie because they need a name, and the only name they know. What about Steve?
Well, Jeff Sinise.
Yeah, Jeff Sinise. What's Jeff done? Well, Gary, his cousin, you might know him from CSI, whatever he's in.
New York.
New York. Anyway, Jeff Sinise can't do cool. He can't act. I've got no idea how he's got into 4 movies at this point. None whatsoever.
This isn't his 4th movie. This is like his 8th or 10th movie.
No, I mean as this character.
Well, because, and this is one point I wanted to make about it, right? Because, oh yeah, it's fantastic. Thank you. One of the things that you said it after reading the booklet, but I was already thinking it from about 15 minutes in, is there is a lot of similarity between this and Army of Darkness. There just is. And I don't know how big this was in the States or whether like a young Sam Raimi saw it and kind of kept it in his back pocket for what would have been 30 years. But it's not that you watch Army of Darkness or this and go, they've stolen Vas Swayze, because they just have. You can't argue that. But there are certain camera flourishes, there's certain character traits that this guy has, there's certain one-liners, there's certain like over-the-top stuff, and there's the whole like cowboy or American braggart, let's say, loudmouth braggart, goes back to a medieval and or former time. And all those things are in play. So kind of once I got that vibe, I was already enjoying it, but once I got that vibe, like, and I actually thought he was sort of having more fun and being more cool than you did, clearly, but that's just my...
He was having fun.
That's just my tolerance.
It's just I wasn't.
Okay, that's just my tolerance for characters like this. But how I learned to enjoy it, and go with me here, is that the idea of the wisecracking American hero strolling in and being under his, out of his depth, right, is a kind of constantly evolving thing. And sure, it's been done before. You know, we've had swaggering American heroes since, you know, the 30s and 40s, from gangster films and westerns and stuff back in the day. But this feels like the embryonic version of what would become a modern or a contemporary character. A John McClane, a Rambo, an Ash in Army of Darkness, whatever it is. It's like an embryonic version of it. It's not polished. They haven't figured out how to do a snappy one-liner as quick as the guys would a decade later. They haven't figured out how to do action in the same like entertaining, fast-paced way that they would do. But everything is a process. So in the like history of cinema as a whole big thing, where we started and where we end up are obviously two completely different things. But they're either forever honing and or developing the craft. Well, the same can be said for this particular character. And I watched this. If you said to yourself, okay, it was 1975 this came out?
No.
Yeah, it came out in 1975 because it's 2 years after Westworld, which is another thing I think was an influence on it. Just the idea of a cowboy amongst all these different time periods. That's Westworld as well. Like there was even a bit where they were in like the Roman-looking place, and I was like, "Is this the same set?" And it's not, because obviously that was shot in America. But it's got a very Westworldy vibe at a certain point. But I felt like this was the embryonic form of that B-movie character that we would grow to love later on down the road. With all the rough edges and with all the slow delivery and the not quite hitting the mark and not quite hitting the line that one would expect from that. But if you give it leeway based on that and kind of roll with it, it's almost as enjoyable, I found. That's my whole thing.
All right, no. Okay, fair enough. My problem was that he couldn't act. Nothing he did was cool or funny. That was my problem.
Oh no, I disagree. I think there was plenty of times where, again, it might fail more than it succeeds, but there were a couple of times where he had a moment where, agreed, if it was somebody else or if it was 20 years later, would have been snappier and whatever. But there were moments where you were like, okay, I get what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? And I'm enjoying it on that level.
Yes, and to be fair,
The most Ash line in it was like when she goes, "Be careful up there" or something, because he's always wandering out with women who he, treats like inferiors, even if they're princesses. In fact, he treats everyone like an inferior, more or less. But she says, "Oh, be careful up there," and he's like, "My old lady didn't raise no dummies," or whatever he says. And that's like, I know you were like, what does that even mean? But like that's...
No, I specifically said my old lady means wife.
No, I get it, right. But like, I just mean that, that's an attempt at something, and to me, it worked enough for me to enjoy it. I can't condemn it. I wouldn't say he's a rotten actor. I would say that he had something going for him. You don't do 4 movies of this character if you don't have something. But you've also got to admit that over the 90 minutes, he grows on you. Like, or he did for me anyway. By the end of it, I was like, this is cool. Like, all the bombs are going off and he's walking in slow motion. I'm like, that's cool.
He didn't grow on me.
Oh.
Look, where I'm with you is, I did appreciate what they were trying to do. And when I understood that, he's back in time, and that's why all the weird stuff is going on, I did start to enjoy it. But the beginning was really alienating because that bit with all the, like, it was a really cool spaghetti western opening, right? Because there's you just see a horse galloping through the canyon or whatever, and then close up and you realise that it's not just the horse, he's dragging this bloke behind him.
The stranger behind him, right?
Right, and the stranger lets out a yell that then, echoes and freeze frame in the title of the movie comes up. It was very, very Sergio Leone. It was very cool. And he
it
gets
also
dragged
got
into
Django elements of him dragging the coffin and all that. Yeah.
Sure. Anyway, I meant more the noise and the echo and the...
No, I get it. Right. Yeah.
Anyway, it was very cool. And he gets dragged into the middle of this deserted town, walks in, and they offer to pay him 50 grand or 10 grand to take this princess to Spain. So far, I'm thinking, this is really good.
Not only that, but when he comes in, they're like, we've been waiting for you.
Right.
As if he's like some predestined thing. Where they've taken the idea of the stranger rides into town and made it a mythical thing. Like they've taken the next step.
Right, which was very cool. And then...
Also, I guess because they're gypsies and they're meant to have been able to have seen into the future.
Right, I think theirs are the crystal balls, right?
Right.
Anyway. The other thing that happened afterwards where the comedy Barbarians came in and threw things around. And then that scene, they lost me there. And then...
Well, the worst thing is for a lot of the fight scenes, it's accompanied by...
Yeah, really loud, annoying comedy banjo music.
Like Benny Hill comedy banjo. Like really grating comedy banjo, not fun comedy
it totally
banjo.
ruined the mood. And
it ruined it, because had it been bonkers, but basically played straight, it would have been more enjoyable. But occasionally nodding through the use of this like hillbilly banjo thing. Oh, nudge, nudge, we know we're making a crazy movie, by the way. That did ruin it. It ruined it for me a lot.
But had I been watching this on Netflix, I would have turned off on the 15-minute mark when they're in Spain and there's an army of Moors on one side and an army of barbarians on the other side, and they fight each other. And that fight, we don't know anybody involved in it.
Right.
You don't see it, and it goes on for half an hour.
I was going to make this point as well, yeah.
And it was totally, I don't care. It was the music was annoying. It had this meh thing going all the way to the background. And after 10 or 15 minutes,
it was about an 11-minute fight. Yeah.
With oh Jesus Christ! This is presumably the point in the driver movie where I'm supposed to get up and go and get a milkshake and take a slash.
Well,
Because I had no idea what it was doing.
What it was very interesting to me was, and again, this is what I mean by embryonic or experimental.
Okay.
We know now, or I think we know, or most filmmakers know, unless you're Hack Snyder, that you have to generate empathy for at least one of the protagonists, if not two of the protagonists, in a big battle sequence. Which is why most of them take place either in the middle or towards the end of a movie, so that they have some weight, so that there is peril, so that you're like, whether it's, like for example, at the beginning of Indiana Jones Temple of Doom, there's that big fight in the thing. First of all, we know who Indiana Jones is, but secondly, I've got to get the precious stone that's rolling about the floor. So there's like a story to the fight. So there's stunts and fighting and blah, blah, blah going on, but you as an audience are on the edge of your seat because you're like, he's got to get the stone back. Oh no, the antidote rather, sorry, he's got to get the antidote back, or Indy's dead. Like antidote. So there's a storyline to the fight. There's something that we, the audience members, can care about. And the same should be said for like any fight. You should be on the side of one or the other, or there should be something in play, a mystical orb or a necklace or an antidote or whatever it is, that we, the audience, care about. And what was interesting about it was this battle was clearly done because they found a bunch of sand dunes, had a bunch of extras, raided like some costume shop in Madrid.
It looks to me like they borrowed the armies from the movie next door.
Right. No,
like they were making a movie, called, The Barbarians Took My Aunt, or whatever, and they just like borrowed the armies. Can we borrow them
for 5 minutes?
Yeah,
literally 5 minutes.
You can have our princess.
And so, what it made for, and I was thinking exactly what you were thinking, is it made for a hollow experience because you're like, I get it. There are horses, there is swordplay, there's a guy in a rotating cannon nest, there's people screaming, things are blowing up, people are being shot, there's idiots running but not firing their guns. There's all this stuff going on, and I'm watching it, I'm going, okay, get on with this, because I don't know what any of this is. I have no interest in any of this. And like you say, at the beginning of the battle sequence, our quote-unquote hero and his princess are surrounded in a circle of horses. We then ignore them for 11 minutes.
Yeah,
and we're left to go like, well, wait a minute, have they been shot, kidnapped, like what's going on? And then after this big, like, clearly, like, money, like, look at the money we put on the screen sequence, they go back to the guy and they have a fairly underwhelming conversation, which ends with him being strung up by his
In fact, he just cut the whole battle sequence.
Right.
And those blokes just rode up, tied him up by his ankles, nicked the princess and buggered off back to the castle.
It would be exactly
narratively, totally the same.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. But fair, I'm not averse to, hey, what if we sling a battle sequence in here? That's fine. You're right. Or if they'd intercut.
No, especially considering, and this is again, not a huge criticism, but especially considering how a little underwhelming the ending was. Like, had they spent that money on the ending and had him fighting, either with a sword or a gun, swathes of people, like all around that castle set, until he whittled it down to the big bads that he then dispatched with cool aplomb, that would have been one thing. But as it is, the ending, you see him like tool up with everything. And by the way, we're not spoiling anything, it's written on the back of the Blu Ray. But he tools up with everything. Quadruple barreled shotgun, huge sticks of dynamite, his 6-shooter, bombs, everything, right? He's also like wired the castle up to blow. And he gets to the castle, is immediately set upon by a mob of women, seemingly loses all the equipment.
That was so lame.
Then the princess comes over and he's like, well, what do you want to do? Get a drink or dance or something? Then it cuts to him sitting on the steps of the castle just flinging dynamite uninspiringly at people. Everyone else then runs away. But they're all like, we're out of here, Jack. They piss off.
Nobody goes, shoot the bloke throwing the dynamite.
Right? He's just sat out there on the steps.
Sitting there.
In fact, at one point, he lights the dynamite, it slips out of his hand, and they left in the movie where he went, oh shit, like, in the movie where he dropped the dynamite instead of throwing. Which I'm just like, okay, that's bizarre that they would leave that in the movie, unless they think it makes him more human or something. And then he fights the two big bad guys, end of film. had you taken your battle sequence and plonked it as he showed up at the castle,
Yeah.
it would have been much better.
Do you think they were just? Do you think their next movie was like a battle epic, and they were just? Because they had there were two scenes where they were taking him to the castle, and there were so there were like two incongruous scenes. There's the battle scene, and when they took them into the castle initially, where the shot of the castle, there's loads of extras, loads of people. There's like, it looks like big money, right? And the same with like the battle sequences, like the armies and all the rest of it. It looks like big money, but then for parts of the battle sequences, there's obviously only 10 guys. And as you say, for a lot of the when they're in the castle, there's clearly like there isn't anybody there. So I'm genuinely wondering whether they weren't making another film at the time and didn't just like nick some shots.
Well, the funny thing is,
they did use that money in weird places.
they did. And
Like, I can't believe that shot of when they're going into the castle, because he walks into that castle loads of times, but twice there's loads and loads of people. It must have cost a lot of money, and certainly a lot of organisation.
flaming torches.
And the way they're standing in a line, like a lot of time and organisation to get that shot right. And it's just like a nothing shot, especially compared to what's happening in the rest of the movie.
Yeah. So the other thing that struck me before I even read this was, before I even knew there was prequels to this movie, and before I even knew that this guy was like a third-rate Eastwood, plying his trade through spaghetti westerns and various European movies. I had the vibe, because it's written by, it's based on a story by him, and then it's written by one of the guys who plays the villain, the Richard guy with the hunchback, who is having way too much fun bellowing like Brian Blessed on Heat throughout this movie, and cackling like a huge ham. But we'll get on to him. It's written by him from a story from Tony, and Tony also produces it. And what it smacked to me before we kind of did our research and stuff,
Actually, yeah, because I think I had the same theory.
was like that Tony was doing all these movies in Spain or Italy or what, I didn't know where it was shot at the time, so Italy maybe. And he'd seen all these like sets lying around, or his mate Bob had just finished filming, Whoops Romans or whatever on the thing, and he was like, "Oh, they're going to tear that set down. What are they doing with that set?" And over a weekend in a pub, Tony and Bellowy McRichards face sat down and hashed out this like bonkers thing where they're like, what would happen if the man with no name went back to like Rome and Genghis Khan times and everything else? What if we just like do that? Like, what if we just wing it? Because there was definitely a sense of like winging it, and like while we have the equipment, while we have the sets, and while we have the stuff, let's just do it.
Yeah.
Now, it seems a little more, when you read up on it and read up on the whole Stranger series, it seems a little more premeditated than that. I still wouldn't be surprised if 25 to 40% of it was that, where they were sat around going, why is no one doing anything with these sets? Let's just have him go back to Rome.
No, I think my thought was,
like in a pub.
They clearly filmed all this stuff in Spain, right? All the Stranger series.
It's all in Spain.
Right. So I'm thinking.
Oh no, The Stranger is filmed all over, but this film it's all in.
Sure, but I think a lot of them were filmed in Spain.
No, most of them were filmed in Italy, and the
Really?
Japan one was filmed over in Asia somewhere, I forget. Yeah, because this is the first one that's filmed exclusively all in Spain.
Oh, okay.
It said it in the book.
No, what it said in the book, it's odd that it's set in Spain rather than just being filmed there. That's why I thought the other movies were filmed in Spain. I think they were saying it's unusual, the Stranger series, because not just being filmed there, but also set there.
Okay, maybe.
Because what I thought might have happened is, while they were filming, because clearly Spain's full of these beautiful medieval buildings, right?
Right.
And they're filming there because, it's quite dusty, so it looks a bit like, the Wild West.
Right.
And they, they must be there, drinking their wine and whatever, and thinking, look at all these amazing buildings, because you can see them, you'd walk around a corner and it was a huge fucking castle,
Right.
on the edge of a cliff going, Jesus, we make a film here. Would be amazing, but we can't do that because, you know, we make cowboy films and we can't use men. And then maybe the idea was, well, if he goes back in time, then we can use them. So similar kind of thing.
Right.
But because some of the buildings and the sets were like unbelievable.
Yeah,
The castle reminded me quite a lot of the
Army of Darkness. Yeah, it's even shot the same way, looks very similar.
Yeah.
Even though the one in Army of Darkness was filmed in basically a field in California, and that's like a forced perspective set. They just had the drawbridge and stuff, and the other bits are filled in with matte paintings and other stuff. But yeah, it looks very similar. But there is a bit in the middle. And again, this is why I would not be surprised if, like, a young Sam Raimi saw this. Or even, like, post-Evil Dead 2, he somehow saw, like, a VHS copy of it or something. Although I don't think this was released in the US on VHS. I think this is the first home video release of it is by Blue Underground. I think I read that.
I can see Raimi being... Like, if the Stranger series was a thing, and it must have been a thing, or they would have made 4 of them, then I can see Raimi...
The only reason I'm saying
to see this, right?
is on top of the whole, like, going back in time Army of Darkness thing, there's also this sequence in the middle where he has to do this trials to get the treasure thing. And the first thing he does, and it's like a very cool shot, is he rides his horse into this, like, big medieval... like kind of Renaissance period, I would guess. Spanish courtyard. And then he wanders into a Spanish chapel that is adorned with all these amazing Renaissance paintings and everything. And he has this weird thing where some steam is released, and he's slowly turning into a... I'm good. I think I'm done.
Yeah, I think I'm done too. Thank you.
He has this weird sequence where he thinks he's turning into a wolf.
Well, it seems it's more like the dead people in the chapel.
No, hang on a second. Yeah. So he's howling and all the rest of it. And then in the middle of it, there's like laughter, right? Like all around him, coming from different places. And then suddenly these skeletons have appeared in like the choir pews, like the choir pews by the chapel organ. That's great. Thank you very much. These skeletons have appeared, and like the camera's like crash zooming into them, and they're laughing at him, and da 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 da. And he's like, "You ain't gonna turn me into no goddamn wolf or whatever," and then howls and like runs out. And oh yeah, no, we're done. And yeah, while it's a very proto sequence, if you think of first of all the laughing faces and heads in Evil Dead 2 when he's stuck in the cabin. When you think of the bits in Army of Darkness where he has to go off and get the book, and along the way he's like harassed by the mini ashes, and then he splits in two. Like, he has all these like mad things in the middle of Army of Darkness that just kind of happened to him along the way. But there were just elements, especially in the way that he played those sequences. Like, that sequence was when I really started to like Tony and what he was doing with the role.
Yeah, fair enough.
Then he goes into like these mad caves where there's like a mad bearded Moor guy who explodes stuff at him, and he becomes a Moor for a while. Like, he basically, like, he's in blackface for 3 scenes of the movie, which is sort of bizarre.
Although they talk about it in terms of because he explodes.
He explodes.
And after that, he's like covered in
charcoal. Or something. Yeah.
And he thinks he's dying because his skin's turned black.
Right. Yeah, no, it's not a.
Yeah,
it's not a.
But it is.
It's borderline,
but it looks like that.
Right.
That's exactly what it looks like.
But it's not. I felt like if they were going to be like racist, there would have been racist slurs throughout the movie with references to the Moors.
I don't think it was. I don't think it was a racist thing. I think it was like. I think it was a
comedy thing,
clumsy, clownish humour thing, like as if blackface was funny. Which is why it's a bit weird.
But it's also could be equally taken as that bit when Wile E. Coyote is blown up by a dynamite.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
and
yeah,
instead of dying,
which should be. Yeah, you're right. Which is what they were going for.
He gets covered in black soot and runs around.
You're right. It is what they're going for. It just looks like.
Yeah, it looks odd. Right. and he gets chased by a bull in a sequence where initially
Which
you're
I didn't
like,
mind how long that went on for.
oh, you
Because
did. I really minded. Like after 3 circles of being chased by the bull, I'm like, right, have him get away.
No, because
and
after-
it kept going.
No,
and
no,
that screechy banjo was replaced with a screechy
But I didn't mind
fiddle,
that because
and it was
quite
like,
clearly,
running
there
around
was
in
a
a
real
circle.
bloke
running around
running
being chased
around
by
in
a
the
bull.
field being chased by the bull, and the bull really nearly got him
Like several
a
times.
lot.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
after a while, you can't go. I don't know how much they're paying this bloke. My guess is probably not very much. But this is, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, that's what you get in Spain.
No,
People are willing to be chased by bulls.
Yeah, but it was really. I started to just admire.
Oh, the
whichever
sheer
guy
sheer
that they got
gusto
to
of
do
it.
it.
Yeah.
that was all. I didn't
But
find it-
no, so there was, and again, this is what I mean. Like, there was some attempt at like this weird, surreal, mystical second act that I feel like in Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, just to
No.
make that comparison,
I take your point. I think
has
it's a
been
fair-
has been like honed and tightened up by actual craftsmen or whatever.
Yeah.
And there are other movies, I'm sure there are plenty of other movies where your lead protagonist is haunted or poked or prodded or put through trials or
No,
whatever it is.
I know what you mean. But when you look at it all together, the loudmouth American goes back in time into the middle of a war that he doesn't really understand. But he's the one that has to go on a quest to find the thing that's going to stop the war, and all the way through he's like beaten and goes mad. All those things put together, they are very similar. It's just that the director and the writer don't have the wit of Raimi and Campbell. There's not enough wit there. It's all like, I take your point about the evolution thing, but like Bogart was, could be witty. Like Chandler could turn a line. Like it's not like no one knows how to write a funny line. It's just they don't know how to write a funny line, and they don't know how to deliver one. Right? So I take your point.
I quite liked his line once he tooled up and he said about.
Because I have to go home.
Oh sure, yeah, of course. The line he had when he tooled up about like when a man is faced with like an equal task, a man can fight fair, but when a man is faced with when a man is outnumbered or outwitted, then it's time to get mean or whatever. Like, I quite like that little
that was all right.
soliloquy he did before he rode into battle.
It was all there. I'm just saying the reason Army of Darkness is better is not because like, The Big Sleep or Morty's talking about, like some of the best detective movies ever made. So it's not about
Just 50-50,
50-50 right down the middle. Thank you. Some of the best films ever made. This one it didn't have the wit and the.
No, all the elements were there. It just sagged.
timing.
It just sagged. It wasn't.
And well, the one thing I would say that I thought was interesting, that I did really like about it, is there were some amazing looking
Shots.
parts of the movie,
Yeah.
like the opening, the crystal balls like coming out of nowhere, the shots of the churches and the castles and the medieval buildings. Like, they were really stunning. Like, I'm guessing he would be a better. What would he be a better? Like a better DOP than the director, because the action was like ham-fisted, and like he's got an eye for. The skeletons looked really good. They didn't look cheesy. It looked kind of creepy and weird.
No, I mean, but you can say that
got an eye for
even the lowest budget B-movie American rip-offs that were made by Italian film directors look good. Like even the cheesiest of those B-movies, like have great cinematography and have moments in them that are genuinely effective. It's just, to me, I
It's
always.
just that the people involved are genuinely a bit incompetent.
No, I just think there's
Because a lot of them are Americans, right? Like, I mean, Tony is American,
yeah, and I think the other guy's either English or American.
right? And the director is Italian, for sure.
Yeah, he's
Thank you very
thank you
much.
so much. So, but to wrap it up, like what I mean is like you need a bunch of Italians, Americans, English, Spanish, whoever it is, rolling about in the desert in 1975, throwing shit against the wall and seeing.
I
what
will
sticks,
say this:
in order for us to get the goofier, weirder,
Further
more
down the
wonderful
line.
stuff
Yeah,
further
okay.
down the
All
line.
right, no, all right. I will go on with that, and I will say this: I was watching it and I was thinking, no way in hell.
Thank you guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you. No way in hell does this get made. No.
No,
No
of course
way.
not.
Thank you. And more.
But Campbell's made that point about the Evil Dead TV series. He's like, the reason why it's a TV series is if we make a sequel to Army of Darkness, whether it takes place in contemporary day, the past, or whether like it was going to take place in the future, because in
When
their
he wakes
favourite
up. Yeah,
ending,
yeah.
he wakes up. Either way, because of who Sam Raimi is, right, and because of what they would want to do, it would be at minimum $150 million movie, right? But because the audience for Evil Dead, even as big as it is now, and it's big enough to like fill a huge hall at Comic-Con and you know encourage stars to do 2 series of a TV show nobody thought would run. It's not big enough to open a $150 million movie. You know.
Well, that's where all the, that's,
And
that's
so-
where all the interesting stuff is being done on TV now.
Right.
That's
so,
where it's at.
So economically speaking, one of the reasons why a movie like this wouldn't be made now is because the kind of people who would make it, your Peter Jacksons, your Sam Raimis, who name your
Peculiar director.
peculiar B-movie director, are now too high profile and command or demand too much money
I guess there are.
from studios. The and it's completely different because he doesn't do genre films quite in the same way. But someone like Ben Wheatley out of England is getting to do like
Yeah, that's
mad
true.
little movies. I don't like him; they're pretentious as hell. But at least he's getting to do like mad.
I
Little
like to kill this.
and he mixes genres too clumsily. They're not. He runs halfway through his movies. They kind of run out of steam, and he just kind of repeats himself. And he doesn't. They're not. They don't evolve well enough, and they're not neat enough, and they don't have enough of a purpose. They're just kind of. I admire the fact that he keeps doing it, and people keep giving him money to do it, and critics keep lauding him. Like if there's a little weirdo English filmmaker out there putting Michael Smiley in movies, I'm happy. Like, but I don't particularly like his film. And I suppose you could say that like Edgar Wright is doing or has done some genre films, but nothing.
I know what you mean. But
nothing this
well,
week. Nothing
because-
this week.
Because what happens is, I think, it's a bit like TV in that you go to the well. So, you can only go to the well so many times before, this season on CSI Miami, they've gone into the future, or like all those things in TV shows where it jumps the shark kind of thing. And this would be, the stranger jumping the shark. Now, personally, I have always had a soft spot for the bits in TV shows where they quote unquote jump the shark.
Yeah.
Right? I prefer the X-Files when it went all mad and surreal and was more concerned with making me laugh than scaring me with way out conspiracy theories. I way prefer those X-Files.
Bruce Campbell is a demon, just to keep bringing up Bruce Campbell.
Right, but that series particularly was a cracker. That's the one with the vampires. So I'm all for let's take something that you know what it is and then weird it up. I am, and I think it is a great shame that there aren't, Dracula films and werewolf films and westerns and crime pictures and stuff just being made all the time for a few $1 million all over the shop. Because out of the 50 crime movies that get made in a year, 4 or 5 of them are really excellent.
Right.
Really.
No, I mean what you get now.
I don't get that anymore.
What you get now is stuff like Cowboys versus Dinosaurs, which is, I've seen it, absolutely awful.
Is
on
it
absolutely
Is it
every
because
level.
it's all been? Is that Brandon?
What?
There's a guy that rides the Q-Tron
Yeah.
from 34th Street. His name's Brandon, and it's always his birthday. Every day he's on the... He rides the commuter train asking for... He's got 300... He needs to get a ticket home to somewhere... Idaho, I think it is.
Right.
And the ticket's
Idaho.
the bus ticket's $350. Right now I've got 64. Could somebody help? I just want to get home for my birthday. And every day it's his birthday, and every day he's not made any more than the 64 he made the day before. and he fascinates me, Brandon. He's recently got himself a girlfriend, which makes me feel kind of happy for Brandon, but it hasn't got any better for him.
But
by
he's
all
been
accounts.
fulfilling the story.
But like, get on different trains, man, at different times. Don't because if you get on a train at 6 o'clock at the same station, the same people are going to be riding it, and they're going to be wise to your schemes.
Yeah, well, true. That's a
I
message
think that
going
was
out
him.
to Brandon, who's probably a fan of the show.
That's it. He just walked past.
He just walked past, he was like, there's my favourite two guys.
My name's Brandon. It's my birthday. It's the only American accent I can do because I've heard it so many times.
But anyway, so yeah, what's happening now in sort of the surreal genre stakes are just these mashup movies. Like, can we get yet another fucking shark, octopus, dinosaur hybrid to fight each other? And it's just it's a movie that they're movies that even before they get made know that they're being sold on the title and the poster alone. So therefore, whatever happens in the movie is irrelevant.
Yeah, but
and
to
it
be-
can be as awful as possible.
To be fair, there were plenty of Italian horror movies that knew they were being sold on the poster and the title.
Right, but I would definitely argue that even in that case, like something like Contamination, for example, which is from the poster alone an Alien ripoff, right? You've still got a kick-ass score. They still go all around the world and like film it in bizarre places. There's still sequences in it and shots in it and scenes in it where you're like, wow, that's really good. The special effects are always interesting, even if they're not always effective. They are like interesting, and you can see the craft on
I think-
hand. And look, there is an argument to say that yes, okay, B movies back in the 70s and 80s, as bad as they got, they always had to have a certain level of craftsmanship because you couldn't just draw the shit on a computer. You had to build an alien, or you had to build a dinosaur, or you had to build a thing. Like someone had to go out and create it, and therefore watching it 10 years hence, there's a certain like cheesy pleasure or charm you can get from the creaky effect. That, when you watch Cowboys versus Dinosaurs, you just go, some dick created this on Adobe Effects, and I'm not interested.
But I wonder if one of the problems these days, and it seems like a shame to me because it seems like it's valuing things that are new over things that are old. It's what bugs me most about Netflix. There is an endless supply on Netflix of like 1-star, crappy, obviously no good movies, but they were made within the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Right? And
Zombie films, Paranormal Activity rip-offs, and
I mean, it's just like really terrible, obviously awful movies, but no redeeming. But there's no old films on that. There's no B movies from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. There's no black and white films on it. There's no like. Think of how many amazing film noirs there are out there, and it's just because it's like, well, people don't want new. Sorry, people don't want old, they want new, so we're going to give them that. And that's got to turn around at some point, surely.
no, because Netflix used to be like that, right? Netflix used to have all those like mad B movies or 80s actioners. They used to have like loads of mad Mark Dacascos movies, and like they had like there was always like weird little movies from the 70s, 80s, and 90s on Netflix. And the moment they started making their own TV shows, and the moment they started streaming stuff by NBC and Fox and a couple of the other deals they've got to show certain TV shows, that's all they became interested in. And the movies they buy now are either retro 80s things like, you know, Adventures in Babysitting, or, you know, The Goonies or something, or it's these like, because I want one zombie movie that inexplicably got popular, I'll also buy up 20 that were made by Jeff and his chef.
It's weird, because I was really in the mood for an old black and white horror movie a couple of weeks back, and there wasn't a single one on
But
there.
that's why these horror streaming sites are doing so well, because they have everything on them.
Yeah, I guess so. I would really like Shudder, but the experience was terrible. It kept shutting off. Like 5 minutes into a movie, it kept turning off. Anyway.
And the big thing as well at the moment is Full Moon have some of
Oh yeah, they've got a lot
the
of stuff.
Blue Underground Blu Rays are now streaming on Full Moon Streaming.
Anyway, very quickly then, I think you're right about Get Me. I think it's a really interesting movie. It's a bit of a slog to sit through, even though it's only 90 minutes. But there are really interesting things going on. There's some unforgettable images for sure. I didn't really like Tony all that much, but you did, so that's fine. So that may just be a
I didn't
personal.
like him in the point, but I was considering, because I looked it up, it's a Warner Archives disc to buy the Stranger Collection. It's only $17 and you get 3 films.
Only you think like that.
I was
They're going,
sorely
you know,
tempted.
I've got too many movies to watch anyway, but I might spend $17 on 3 films starring Tony.
Only so that I can see the build-up of the Stranger Cat.
Yeah, so yeah, because how could you live without knowing?
Plus, I love East meets West movies. I love that when that happens.
The Legend of Seven Golden Vampires is amazing.
Yeah, no.
I had no idea it was going to be that good.
Peter Cushing goes
But it
to...
was such a car crash of an idea, but it completely works.
Right, well, because the Shaw Brothers studio and the Hammer studio were on their last legs, and they were like, should we pair up and see what happens?
Yeah, it was brilliant.
And Peter Cushing was like the only name they could like drag out of Hammer Studios who was willing to do it.
Yeah, bless him.
Because they asked like Lee and they asked a whole bunch of other people. They were like, no.
Not getting me out of bloody China.
Whereas, yeah,
Cushing was game for a laugh.
Cushing would have done anything.
Good old Cushing.
Good old Cushing. But anyway, would you recommend, I can't in all honesty say that you go out and buy this disc. Unless you're a fan of, first of all, spaghetti westerns, but also sort of the embryonic, all-American, wisecracking, braggadocio hero.
I think if you're a fan of weird 70s genre mashup movies where everybody involved cares more about having a laugh and trying something new than necessarily making a cohesive or coherent movie, then you should get it.
It's more one
There's definitely things about it. There's definitely things about it to recommend.
It's more one that if it was either streaming on Netflix or streaming on Blue Underground or streaming on Full Moon or whatever, and you looked at it and you went, I don't know, watch it. Would I go out and spend $24.99 on the double disc Blu-ray? No.
No, I wouldn't.
If you manage to somehow stream it and or purchase it legally online as a digital copy, yeah. And I'm kind of fascinated about its genesis, so I will watch some of the extra features because I am kind of fascinated about that story.
I think, okay, look, let me say this about it, right? It's an interesting movie for sure, and it did win me over after like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I did like what it was trying to do, and it did look really cool, and yeah, it was a bit of a slog to sit through, but on this show, I've sat through a lot worse than that.
Oh, fuck yeah, of course.
I've sat through more cynical, more incompetent, more hateful movies than this by
There's
like a
nothing
long,
cynical
long
about
way.
this at
No,
all.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. It's the total opposite of cynicism. Now, it's not blessed with talent, but it's definitely not a cynical cash grab. I think that's what I like most about it, is that it's so obviously not a cash grab. It's so obviously, why not? Why the fuck not? And any movie where the driving force of it is why the fuck not is got to be admired a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't. Look, the Blue Underground disc is great. It's packed full of extras. There's a commentary. There's interviews with the stars. There's interviews with the producers. There's behind-the-scenes stuff. There's trailers. And you get a DVD and a Blu-ray and the same thing, and a great booklet that we both read while the movie was on. The collection, the thing is if you're a spaghetti western collector and you want that point where a genre when we can't sustain the story of a man in a poncho and a hat rides into town and saves the well from going dry, or saves little Billy and his medicine or whatever, or chases the Indians away, or whatever it is, whatever your generic western story is. So let's do something bonkers, whether it's Jason in space or whether it's
Right.
the stranger gets sent back in time. If you're like a fan of spaghetti westerns, but you also want to see a movie where that genre gets to the point where they're like, fuck it, let's do this. and you collect that stuff, then yes, it's a phenomenal disc. It's a nice big package and blah 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 blah. But if you're just a B-movie cult fan, there's better movies to spend $24.99 on. That's all I mean.
Yep, I would agree with that. That's fine. Yep.
All right, and with that, thank you ever so much.
Thanks, man.
We're going to
Pleasure
wrap
as
it up
always.
there. Yeah, that was awesome.
Okay, everyone listening. So don't forget to once you've listened to this podcast, and to end the show, we are going to have the full after-movie diner ditty that was written, played, and produced by none other than Voodoo Fuzz. Tremendous fan of the show. I couldn't be happier with this song. It's been going through my head for the last couple of days. I'm going to listen to it a bunch. Here it is. Enjoy the full version.
Well, back in 2011, I find a movie going to see. A film by Jim and John Movie starring Iggy Pop and me. But when the show was over, I had nowhere to go, so I ended up in a bar, sipping my bourbon and feeling low. One night, this wild-looking guy called Frank came over and asked me why I looked so sad as I drank. I told him about my post-movie blues, and then I saw the light in his glass eyes. He told me to go to the after-movie diner. I'm surprised you don't know there's no place finer. Come on now, let's go. Well, Mr. John Croswell, he's a man. He's a man with a beard and a man with a plan. Yeah, yes. With Jim and John and Madam Mark, tune in to Fletch Cobbler to start. Yes, and reviews, opinions, interviews, comedy and news, Don Doler and his films, and George Stover at the after-movie diner. Now it's 5 years old. There's nowhere finer. That's the place to go. Oh, the after-movie diner. It's where I go. Oh, that after-movie diner. It's one hell of a show. I just killed that rattlesnake with skillet pants.